Hello, everybody. Welcome to Frontline Football. This is an historic video for us because we have just had some of the most views ever since the beginning of our channel. And welcome to the offseason, a time of optimism in all the NFL, where everybody can be hopeful about their team's new successes. So, without getting any more into this, without further ado, let's roll the intro.
Okay, so with our starting this week, right, guys? We are doing off-season previews, which is what you see on Jack's screen, which is a little different from our layout now. Is a little different. So, Jack, you want to talk about our first team for this week?
All right. And we are starting off by talking about the New York Jets. So I'll introduce the New York Jets here. So our top 5 needs for this season is quarterback at 1, edge rusher at 2, interior O-line at 3, wide receiver at 4, and cornerback at 5, with a cap room around $67 million. So since I'm the Jets fan here, I will open us out with the opening takes on the New York Jets. I think as for the quarterback situation, as you can see, we got Wilson, Fields, and Watson, who's the long shot. I don't think you're getting Watson. So in the scenario we're due, okay, give up the picks. But we're going to go into the most likely. I think that Zach Wilson is a perfect fit for the LaFleur scheme that Saleh has brought along with him as his offense coordinator. So I think you do select Zach Wilson. And then as for edge rusher, Matt Judon, I think he's the most likely because you have to remember our GM is from the Baltimore Ravens and hand-picked him in the draft. So they kind of have that connection. But I think another intriguing option is Solomon Thomas, who knows Robert Saleh and gotten a little better under him because he was considered a big draft bust before, and now he's only a little draft bust. And then Carl Lawson from Cincy. If you want to dish out the big cash, this guy's a solid edge rusher. I like him. As for interior O-line, apparently the Jets have big interest in Green Bay center Corey Linsley, so that's an intriguing option for me. I think you aim for that, but I think you get Thuney at all cost because Thuney next to Becton will be amazing for Zach Wilson to start out his career. So I think you get Lindsey if you can, get Thuney at all cost. As for the wide receiver situation, I like Kenny Galladay, but Allen Robinson's probably the safer option. And Curtis Samuel, he's more of a scheme fit. He's like a 49ers kind of receiver. He can run wide receiver screens, do all that shenanigans. But go for Robinson and Galladay first. And then last but not least, what I do at cornerback is I'd go for J.C. Horn in the draft. And then maybe I'd take Sherman or Verrett as well, just to stack it, give it some veteran leadership. Got to remember that Niners connection coming in again. And then as for the re-signings, got to bring back Marcus May at all cost. He was an impact safety. He went in Jamal Adams' role and did a pretty good job. Brian Poole is a solid slot corner. At the right price, I think you bring him back. And Pat Eflon, he's just a great guard as like a depth piece to maybe to back up Thuney. So that's all I have on the Jets offseason. What are your thoughts on it, Zach?
Well, I like the Justin Fields thing. I mean, Zach Wilson's a little better, but the Watson thing, I don't think it's gonna happen. But there is a way that the Jets can get another great quarterback that's coming into this draft, and it's all about the Jags taking whoever they want. And I think, in my opinion, the Jags are going to take Justin Fields first. So I think another person on this list is actually Trevor Lawrence. But that's just how I think the Jags are going to run this. But quarterback is a big need for them. So I like these options for them. Matt Judon and Solomon Thomas, very solid. They're really good at playing. Carl Lawson, does that say?
Yeah.
All right. Well, he's pretty good too. I think he's a little bit more of a scheme fit. And then Joe Thurney, all those linemen, they're really good. I don't know what to say about linemen. Like, they're not a skilled position player, so it's kind of hard to say that. Wide receivers, they can get a wide receiver in the draft. There's that guy from Cincinnati, but I think the best options are Kenny Galladay and Allen Robinson. I would say take Allen Robinson. I like him better. Kenny Galladay, you'll get more stats, but he's injury prone, and Allen Robinson is way more safer. Curtis Samuel, he just fits the scheme. And then for corners, I wouldn't go for Richard Sherman or Jason or the other guy. I would say go for J.C. Horn because it's the safest option. You get a rookie. He can learn from, in my opinion, one of the best defensive coordinators. Not they're the best head coach that used to be defensive coordinator. I think that'll help them. And then the top guys to bring back, I agree with all of those. So yeah, Josh.
I think that with this team, one of the big things is make sure that you build through the drafts before you try to go into free agency for these people, because free agency is really for that last piece that you need to contend. You don't really want to be paying big money deals when you're not ready to contend yet. So I would say draft Wilson. He seems like the best scheme fit, and he seems like the person with one of the highest ceilings besides Trevor Lawrence in this draft. So go with Wilson. Don't try to go for Watson. You don't want to trade your draft capital for a quarterback who will probably be gone in 4 years, 4 years, somewhere around there. And then let's see, with edge rushers, I would say try to get one in the draft. If you can't, I would say Solomon Thomas would be your best option because of the scheme fit in Salah's system. And next with linemen, like Jack said, get Joe Thuney. Brandon Scherf. How do you pronounce Scherf? Brandon Scherf be a great option. And Corey Linsley, I think that would be a great option too for you to get. I know that the Jets and the Texans will probably be battling it out for him. So good job there. And I would say with wide receiver, try to draft somebody. You have a lot of draft capital, so don't try to get one of these receivers. I think Galladay is going to be franchise tagged, in my opinion. Allen Robinson wants to go to a contender, so I don't think he would go to the Jets just yet. Maybe if it was down the line, you probably could get Robinson. But I would say try to find somebody in the draft, maybe like a second-round pick or something. And then finally with cornerbacks, get J.C. Horn. He seems like one of the best corners, either him or Patrick Surtain, whoever is best on the board and whoever you think will be the best in that defense, get them. And then I really agree with the guys to bring back. Marcus May, really good, like Jack said. Brian Poole, he seems to be really good from what I've seen of him. And Pat Eflon, he'd be a good person to back up whoever you guys get either in the draft or in free agency at the guard position.
Well, the Jets are really interesting and all, but let's go on to a different AFC East team. And what is it, Jack?
The Miami Dolphins. So I'm going to give you the preview, and then I'm going to hand this one off to Josh. So as for the Miami Dolphins, $26 million in cap. That's the bad news. That's not too much. That's a little bit of play money. But look at the good news. Matt Breida and Isaiah Ford are not priorities. They don't have anyone big to bring back, so meaning you're going to get all that $26 million. As for a top need, defensive line and receiver are kind of like, they can be exchanged at the one spot. They're both massive needs, as I feel like Dolphins they have good edge, they need some D-line. They definitely need a receiver to help Tua if he stays. Tackle, Penasua, I'm not going to get into the preview. Tackles 3, linebacker 4, and then if Tua's gone and you want to go through the draft, quarterback at 5. That's in a scenario where Tua's gone. So what are your thoughts on this, Josh?
I think that with these moves, I think the best for defensive line would be, I would have to say Leonard Williams with this one. I'd say try to get somebody to draft because like maybe Kwity Paye if he's on the board when you're picking, maybe select him. I wouldn't say go the free agency route. It doesn't seem like as stacked of a class as it could be, but go with Leonard Williams if you want to go that route. Next, with wide receiver, get Devontae Smith. He was Tua's teammate. He's the best receiver in this draft, in my opinion, and I think he's going to ball out for your team. Next, I would say trade for Orlando Brown. He's a very upset star in Baltimore. Get him because Penei Sewell will probably not be on the board when you're picking because the Bengals will already have taken him by that point that you've already selected Devontae Smith. And I would say, finally, if you decide to trade Tua to a different team, I would say draft maybe Fields, because Wilson will probably be off the board, or Lawrence at the time. So I would say draft Fields, the consolation prize. And then finally, yes, sign Isaiah Ford and Matt Breida back to your roster. So I'm going to hand it off to Zach for his take.
Now, I do agree with the top guys to bring back. Those guys were really good players, but let's actually talk about their team needs. So, the D-line, they always can get, I agree with all these guys because I literally just talked about most of these guys. But I say go to the draft and get someone. The Dolphins, they've been just going into the draft and picking up someone every single year, and they picked some really good players. And I would just say go into the draft, try to find either a good, because they do have another first round pick for they have the Texans and then they have their own. And I would just look for an edge or linebacker or something like that. Whatever the best on the board is, and try to get one of those. Now receiver, I'd say no to Juju Smith-Schuster. That's a dumb move. You don't want to take a guy who is going to want some money. So I would say get one of these younger guys like Jamar Chase or Devontae Smith. I would say go Devontae Smith. He just won a Heisman. He looks like a more polished receiver than Jamar Chase, and we only saw Jamar Chase for a season. So and then he opted out of this season. So I think he still has very good skill level. It's just I like Devontae Smith better. Now with tackle, if you don't go with Devontae Smith, I would totally agree with the Penei Sewell pick. Protect Tua at all cost, and you don't want him to get injured like he did in Bama. So I agree with that. The Orlando Brown stuff, I think that they have such a good defense that Tua just has to be a game manager that I don't think that they still need a tackle, but they can get one next year too. So that's a little bit of my take. Linebacker, I literally just explained this. They get a guy in the draft. There's not a lot of good linebackers this year, maybe like Von Miller, but I don't really think that people are going to go after Von Miller. And then quarterback. I don't think that they're taking out Tua this year. I think this year is going to be Tua's year to prove himself. If he doesn't prove himself, then the Dolphins are going to have to go for someone new. So, yeah. But if they do, I think Zach Wilson will be on the board at the time because I think that Trevor Lawrence is going 2, like I just explained, and Fields is going 1. But if the other thing happens and Zach Wilson's already off the board and Trevor Lawrence, then go with Fields. He has a lower floor than the other two, but he does have a high ceiling also. So, yeah. All right, Jack, your turn.
All right, so as for defensive line, I don't expect them because Williams and Lawson are looking to break the bank here. They got $26 million. I expect if Lawrence Guy shakes free of New England, they're going to address that need with Lawrence Guy. Got to remember, they built some more to New England. They paid a couple cornerbacks for a lockdown secondary. They're going to get a couple veterans they know because Brian Flores was New England's old DC, so he got Kyle Van Noy out there. And I expect if Lawrence Guy gets out, he will also grab Lawrence Guy so he can get kind of a defensive lineman that knows him, so it's not as big of a switch. As for wide receiver, like Josh and Zach said, you take Devontae Smith at 3. That's pretty easy. Get Tua's weapon that he knew from Alabama. And then for tackle, you could go Sewell at 3. Darrell Williams is a sneaky tackle. But I think Orlando Brown, you have that mid-first round pick from your first round pick. I think you use the 3 on Devontae Smith, and I think you either trade a second or a first to get Orlando Brown because he wants to be a left tackle, and I think that would be great for protecting Tua. You drafted Austin Jackson last year, who can move over to the right and have an easier time, and you got a solid interior O-line. So I think Orlando Brown is something that the Dolphins look into. There are a couple other teams that I'll address in future videos that I think will also look into him. As for linebacker, I think if they're going to address this, it's not a massive need, but they don't have that many needs left because they're pretty well built. So if you are going to address this, expect a second to mid-first round pick to address linebackers, specifically I believe in the middle. And then quarterback, I think they're riding with Tua. They're going to get the tools, Orlando Brown, Devontae Smith, to build around him. So I expect not a very loud offseason. The big thing's going to be Orlando Brown trade and then draft a receiver. And then if you're Miami, you're in business there.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about a team that kind of fell flat this season. And what is that team, Jack?
That is the New England Patriots. So as for their top needs, quarterback is one because Cam Newton's getting cut. That means Jared Stidham or nothing on the roster right now. Wide receiver's a close second. They have nothing. They got injury-prone Julian Edelman as their best guy. Defensive line, because I don't think they're going to be bringing back Lawrence Guy, and it's still a big need. Tight end, too. That's another lack of weapons over there is a big issue. And last but not least, I believe linebacker Dante Hightower is getting older, and he's on a contract year next year, so that's something to look out for. So they do have $62 million. That's the good news. $62 million to spend. Here's the bad news, though. Look at the top three needs. Those are some very, very, very important players. Joe Thuney, top 5 guard in football. David Andrews, top 10 center in football. Jason McCourty, key part of secondary. Not to mention there are a couple guys that weren't as important but still important, such as Lawrence Guy. And that's going to be interesting to figure out because a lot of that money is going to go to those three if they bring them back. So do you keep Thuney? That's the big question. Or do you get... I believe you drafted a rookie named Michael Awusio who plays solid guards, so maybe you could move it in. That's up for them to figure out, but overall, keep in mind that some of that cap is going to those guys they need to bring back and keep in the building. Zach, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, with quarterback, I don't really think that they're going to go Mac Jones. I think they're going to go with Kyle Pitts or something like that in the draft. The Patriots are weird like that, or they'll trade down their pick. But who I actually do think that they're going to be their quarterback of the future, Kyle Trask. Now, he did look bad this season. He looked decent, and then he started falling off. And I think the Patriots will take him in the later rounds because I feel like they have not a good team, but they won't go for a guy like Mac Jones or something, in my opinion. They'll go for some person that doesn't even seem like he'll have a good career. I'm just saying that because we don't know yet. He could ball out. He could, I don't know. But I think that they're going to take Kyle Trask and go against a different need in the early rounds. So yeah, receiver, you could take these guys, but I would just wait until next year to get a receiver. I mean, these guys are going to want to get paid, like Kenny Galladay and Corey Davis and T.Y. Hilton. They want to get paid, so I don't think you're going to get them. D-line has been a really big problem, so hopefully take care of that also this season or next season. And then tight end, I already said draft Kyle Pitts is the best guy on there. I don't think you want Hunter Henry or Jacob Hollister. And then linebacker, I think keep Dante Hightower for this year, but then contract year, you might want to get a new linebacker in the draft. All right, Josh.
Okay, so with these, I'm going to say first, with the quarterback situation, if you're drafting Kyle Pitts, which you probably will, with that 18th pick I think they have, you should draft Kyle Trask. They were teammates at Florida. You already have that chemistry, and you don't have to pay him as much. Bill Belichick is known for penny pinching for GM's sakes in the NFL. He's known for making these cutthroat deals where they're very small. Tom Brady was known for taking pay cuts with this Patriots team. So I don't really think he's going to be investing in anybody with a lot of money. I think this will be a huge rebuilding through the draft. So I would say draft Kyle Trask, let him sit for a year like Patrick Mahomes, let Brian Hoyer or Jared Stidham take over the starting job for a year, and then put him in the next year. He's a project quarterback. So, and then I'd say put Kyle Pitts in straight off. He is the best tight end in this draft. So I would say for your receiver option, look at that next year when you start to build up some momentum. Then D-line, I would say these people are way too expensive for the Patriots right now. I'm not saying that you can't get them later, but right now they're way too expensive for a team that's trying to rebuild. And then finally with linebackers, I'd say let Dante Hightower just keep playing until that contract year, and then they'll have a good spot. So that's my stuff. And try to re-sign Jason McCourty and Joe Thuney. They're going to be very hard to replace, and David Andrews and Lawrence Guy. So that's my take.
Jack?
So as for the re-signings, I think David Andrews stays at a smaller deal, and you keep Andrews, McCourty, and Guy, and then you let Thuney walk, and you let Miles Owusu, the rookie left guard that had a solid year, take Thuney's spot. 'Cause you got to remember, Thuney's a very high-end guard. He'll be the highest paid guard in football until Quentin Nelson gets his payday. So that's expensive, and you have someone in the wings, so just let him go. You don't need that. As for the quarterback situation, there's a lot you can go. I don't think they get the Wentz situation. Dak's a long shot. Mac Jones could be a good fit, but I think like Josh and Zach said, you think you go for Kyle Trask and get him in the second. They never draft quarterbacks in the first. So I think you make a move on Trask in the second, develop him. As for receiver, cross Kenny Galladay off the list. Belichick very rarely goes for the big guy, big paid receivers. But Corey Davis and T.Y. Hilton, they're a little second end. They're not in the Robinson, Galladay, Juju tier where they're like the high end receiver of this group. So maybe you could get one of those guys. As for defensive line, just sign Lawrence Guy. Don't worry about it. Shelby Harris and Jonathan Hankins, they'll be kind of expensive, not really worth it. Just keep Lawrence Guy. Keep someone that knows the system if you can. But if not, make a push for Hankins. As for tight end, Pitts is there. You take him. Hollister, he seems like a New England tight end, and he could be a penny, or he could be a cheap deal. I think it could work as well. As for linebacker, roll with Dante Hightower until he's gone. It's a need, but Hightower will come back and hopefully fix it up.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go talk about the winners of the NFC East. And who was that this year, Jack?
The Buffalo Bills.
I mean AFC.
As you can see here, this is a good situation with a catch. So the good situation is defensive line, it's more of a future because Jerry Hughes is getting old. Running back, you need to get one running back, probably to the draft. Could go for a guard if Feliciano leaves. Wide receiver, just because John Brown and Cole Beasley are on the older side, and then there's none. There's not a need for 5. So this is a very good team, as you can tell. As a lot of these guys they already have in place, they're just old. Here's the catch, though. Cap, -$1 million. And look at those top 3. Darrell Williams, Matt Milano, Trent Murphy, all very important pieces to the Bills' defense. So I'm going to open this one up. So as for defensive line, I've heard a bit of J.J. Watt to the Bills buzz. I don't think so, though. I have a different team that I think fits him better. Derek Wolfe, he's another veteran lineman that won't be super expensive. But in the 30s, you could be looking at Carlos Basham, who could be an intriguing option in the late first, early second area. As for running back, I have Aaron Jones on there because he seems like a good fit, but they can't afford Aaron Jones. So don't get your hopes up, Bills fans. But if you wanted to, you have the privilege that most teams do not get, that you have the Clyde Edwards-Helaire scenario, where your team is good enough where you can grab a running back in the first round, and I think you could do that with ETN or Najee. It's up to you. However you want to run the ball. Singletary and Moss aren't bad. Could be better, though, and having an extra running back in that unit would just make it all the better. As for guard, Forrest Lamp, he's a cheaper option. If Feliciano walks, try to keep Feliciano, though. That's same area, is better. Keep the gang together. As for wide receiver, I think Kendrick Bourne, he's an intriguing option. He was deep in the 49ers receiving corps, but I think he's a speedster. So that could be an interesting fit if you sign him, and then when John Brown starts to slow down, he could play the role and hopefully be ready to go. Chris Conley's another underrated option. Solid, not expensive, because they're going to be dancing around with the cap. But make sure you get Darrell Williams back if you can, and Matt Milano, because those tackle and linebacker could become a big need fast if those guys shake loose. What are your thoughts on this, Josh?
I think that they're really set to maybe win a Super Bowl. I'd say with the defensive line, do not get JJ. Yes, he'll be looking for a small payday, but still, he's going to want some money. Your cap situation is not good enough for a player like JJ. So I'd say draft Carlos Basham in the draft. He seems like he could fall to you guys, and you guys could get a really good lineman through that. And now with running back, do not sign a running back. You probably won't be able to draft ETN or Najee because they'll probably be off the board to the Steelers and Jets. That's my prediction. And just get somebody in the later rounds. You'll be fine. Just get somebody there, give a 3-back system, Singletary, Moss, and insert running back 3. And then with the guard, just try to sign Feliciano, but if you can't, get Forrest Lamp from free agency. And then finally with wide receiver, I would say maybe 3rd, 4th round. Get a guy who is not really that known. Let Beasley and what's the other guy from Woods?
John Brown.
Brown, Diggs. I'll train him up to become that next Bills wide receiver. And then with these, make sure you sign Darrell Williams and Matt Milano back. You're going to need them if you want to make a Super Bowl run. So, Zach, what's your thoughts?
With the top guys to bring back, I agree with you, Matt Milano and Daria Wills, whatever. D-line, I do agree that they shouldn't go with JJ, or they probably should just go with a guy in the draft, judging by their cap situation. Running back, I don't think that I agree with Josh here. I don't think they should go for Aaron and Jack. I don't agree that they should go with Aaron Jones. But I don't. Maybe they can drop Travis Etienne, or Najee could drop to the Bills, but I think that the Steelers or the Jets will take him. Or maybe the Jets won't and go for J.C. Horn.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Guard. With guard, I don't really think that they should get a guard right now. I think that what they should do with the guard situation, probably get a guy in like the 2nd round, maybe even like the 3rd. Get like a late guard. It's fine. You got your tackles. It'll be fine. Now, receiver, I do agree with Josh. Take a guy in the late round like Diggs and Diggs and Beasley. Train him up to be the next Bills receiver. And that's it. Then you have a Super Bowl winning team. So, and you're already really close. So, it doesn't really matter who you guys take. It's just you guys just need to build on your team. All right. Well, that does it for our video today. Josh, if they like the video, what should they do?
If you like the video, don't forget, like I always tell you, and this is now the season 1.5, so we're changing up the brand of Coke. Don't forget to hit that like button, punch that subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell because you, yes, you, watching us right now, you guys can join the Frontline Football fan base if you just do those things. And also, if you like what we do here, if you stayed until the end, don't forget to share this with your friends because they would love to see what we do in the offseason. We have so much planned. So keep staying with us for the entire season 1.5. So make sure to do this. And Jack, hit the plugs.
All right. If you'd like to follow us on Instagram and Twitter, just type that into your Instagram or Twitter at FrontlineFB. If you're too lazy for that, I'll put the links in the description as always. And a little schedule update before we leave. Frontline News will continue on Wednesday. Expect these offseason previews to come in pairs on every Friday and Sunday. Friday for the AFC, Sunday for the NFC. So Frontline News will be coming out every Wednesday. NFC East will be this Sunday for you guys, next Sunday and Friday for us. Then we'll go north, south, west, and continue up until the league year starts. So that's what to expect from us the next month. Expect those division previews to keep coming out. And Frontline News, it won't be every Wednesday, but every Wednesday where there's enough news to do it, it will happen. So we will see you guys Sunday for the NFC East preview for you guys. And have a great rest of your day.
One more thing right before we end. Also, if you don't want the plugs, if you search it up in Google Frontline FB, go to the second option. That's our Instagram. So in case you don't have the Instagram app, just Google it and you'll find it.
Yep. So we'll see you guys Sunday.
See ya.
Yeah.